Hey, slippery in that kitchen. How are you?
Good. Can we start with the check from, we haven't talked to you about that yet. Tell us, what account did that check go in? And what do you think about the questions surrounding the check?
Well, let me just say first of all, there's nothing to that. I've said that repeatedly, and that's certainly the case. Mike Escaritas is my oldest and dearest friend. I've known him for more than 40 years. I met him the first time when I was 8 years old. He's been like a brother to me. He is like a brother to me. He's like a godparent to my kids. And like all friends and families that are close, over the years we exchange gifts on holidays, Christmases, birthdays, special occasions, christenings, baptisms, and weddings. And so there's really nothing to this. Now I appreciate and understand why Treasurer Topinka would like to make an issue out of this. She's proposed an $18 billion record spending increase that she would pay for with a massive expansion of gambling that cuts health care by $2.9 billion, forcing seniors out of nursing homes and kids to lose health care. And so if I were her, I wouldn't want to defend that record either, so I want to change the subject, talk about things. But let me emphasize, every single rule and every law was properly followed and complied with, disclosure laws, and the same cannot be said of Treasurer Topinka. She's taken a month and a half, and she still has not completely complied with the law on her own campaign finance reports. Now, let me be clear. The law is the law. The law, L-A-W, requires full disclosure on campaign finance reports. She hasn't fully disclosed her contributors, their employers, and a whole series of other questions. And so it seems to me that you may want to go back and ask her questions, like, for example, has she taken money from gambling interests? And if so, how much money has she taken from gambling interests? And you may want to ask her, because I'd be curious to get the answer myself, why she hasn't completely complied and filled out her disclosure form.
Wait, where did you put the check? What account did the check go in?
We disclose all of that, and the disclosures show that all the kids' money for college goes into a mutual fund for college.
And that's where the check went to?
Do you write that kind of check to somebody? Do you yourself give anybody $1,500?
Over the years, yes, I have.
At one time, do you give someone, a 7 or 8 year old, $1,500?
You're asking me you're asking me a question. Have I what?
Have you yourself, if you said you exchange gifts, do you yourself write a check to a friend or a niece, nephew for $1,500 when they're 7 or 8 years old?
It's quite possible I could very well have done more than that for my nephew when he was growing up, when he was a young child, and I certainly know over the years, my wife and I have contributed to the gifts of our nephews, and we have 2 of them now. So
did you ever get a gift that significant either before or after from Mr. or Mrs. Escaritas?
Look, you're asking me to reconstruct a 40-year relationship.
How about just after that?
My best friend, who's been my best friend since I was 8 years old. I'm not going to try to imagine or guess or try to recreate what may have happened over a 40-year period.
But she says no. The reason it's germane, Governor, is that she says neither before or after was there ever a gift, anything like that she can recall. And it comes 2 weeks after the job, after she gets a job, after she's flunked the test, and it appears that she gets a job after somebody violates the rules.
Again, you're asking me to recreate a 40-year relationship with my best friend who I've known since I was 8 years old. He's like a godparent to my kids. And, over the many, many years, he and I have exchanged gifts as friends, close friends, often do. And I'm grateful for his caring about my kids. And so, all I can tell you is it's fully disclosed and every rule has been complied with.
Did you question the dollar amount when you received the check?
The appearance of a quid pro quo in this is disturbing. Can you absolutely state that check had nothing to do with her hiring?
First of all, any kind of question like that is ludicrous on its face. You're talking about a childhood friend who was like a brother to me, who I've known since I was 8 years old, who's like a godparent to my kids. And for anyone to suggest anything other than that, it's ridiculous and ludicrous. And again, I think the reason Treasurer Topinka is raising this issue in a political campaign is because she'd prefer to talk about anything but her proposal to increase spending by a record $18 billion that calls for a massive expansion of gambling, that cuts health care by $2.9 billion, that forces senior citizens out of nursing homes, and takes health care away from kids. And if you want to talk disclosure, because I fully disclose everything, including that gift to my daughter from my best friend who's like a godparent, you ought to ask her why she doesn't disclose on her reports and fails to comply with the law. And for a month and a half, she has not fully complied with a legal requirement to disclose her campaign finance report. And I can understand, why maybe she wouldn't comply with the law. You can, and anyway.
So the FBI or
Why has it taken you so long to address this issue?
I've been out and about all over the place.
Governor, wouldn't
talked to Rick Pearson of the Tribune right after.
Wouldn't it have been wiser, however well-intentioned this gift might have been, to not accept it given the obvious occurrence of it?
He's like a godparent to my kids. This is a friend since I was 8 years old, who's been like a brother to me. I think a lot of you have actually had a chance over the years to actually talk to him about what it was like growing up with me. You know, this is a very normal, typical thing that happens between close friends and families, and it was fully disclosed.
Was the $1,500 check the reason you made the amendment to the ethics disclosure?
So has your other daughter received checks of this amount from him?
I'm just not going to get into all the details. Everything's in the disclosure report.
Governor, why did you,
Governor,
why did you not amend that form? Why did you not disclose, why did you not add Askarides' name to the disclosure until after the FBI had questioned?
What's that?
Why did you not add Askarides' name to the disclosure until after the FBI questioned?
I don't know the timeline of that. All I know is that...
Well, you did. The amendment came after the FBI question.
No, I don't know the timeline on that. All I know is we want to be extra careful in our disclosures. And we put my in-laws on there, we put my brother on there, we put my best friend on there.
I know you're talking about meals, but we're just concerned with this check. Why did you file that amendment after you had been interviewed by the FBI?
I'm not sure that that's the case. The reality is we wanted to make sure we fully disclosed. So I put my in-laws on there. We put another friend of the family, Betty Bukraba, who's on there. We put my brother, my sister-in-law on there. We put my best friend, Mike Askarides, on there. And that stands in stark contrast to my opponents, Treasurer Topinka and Mr. Burkett, have nobody disclosed on their financial.
Are you looking into how she got that job after flunking the test?
I don't handle the job issues.
Don't you think that's worth inquiring? What's your understanding of how she got that job? And what was your knowledge of her applying for the job? With this kind of intimate relationship that you're describing, many of us suspect that you must have known that she was applying for a state job. And so fill us in. And obviously that's the source of this interest in this $1,500 check as opposed to the free meals you might have gotten at Thanksgiving dinner from others in the family.
Well, there's birthday gifts and christening gifts, and you know, bear in mind, the year of what you're talking about was the year our baby Annie was born. And you know, I know Mr. Chase has characterized it a certain way. I also know that his facts have been questioned by the person that he allegedly talked to. So that's how that's been characterized. All I can tell you is this was the year that our little baby Annie was born. And so when you have a child that's born, friends, family, and loved ones are generous in that year for the child. That's a very normal thing. And so, what's your question?
Did you know that she was interested in a state job and was applying for a state job?
Yes, and suggested to my chief of staff to see if he could find something that fits her qualifications.
Did she ever work?
Can you comment on the story in
Did she ever work in Whiteside County?
Story in yesterday's Sun Times. Can you comment on that?
Sure, happy to
please?
talk about that. First of all, you know, if you read the story, what you'll find is three key facts, which I think are very interesting. Number one, nobody from my campaign solicited a contribution from the company in question. Number two, the company in question gave no contributions to my campaign. Number three, Stuart Levine is a 30-year Republican operative that I can't account for the things he says, the ramblings he says, when he's currently under indictment.
Do you think what has been the